It was 2007. My parents were down in the south of France on holiday, and it was my father's birthday. And as we sat down by the pool, my mum, who was a small, petite lady, sat by the swimming pool and she crossed her legs. And as she crossed her legs, just sort of behind her knee, I noticed a mark. She went to the doctors and they discovered that she had aggressive melanoma. While she was in hospital, there were obviously the nurses on the ward looking after her. But one evening, a nurse arrived at the hospital who didn't even work there full time. And that was the night that a lady called Attilia came into my mother's life, but more importantly, into all of our family's lives. But sadly, Mum didn't make it. And during my mum's time in hospital, Attilia actually didn't just do one session of looking after her. She was literally in there every day. In fact, she was in there looking after Mum even when her hours had finished. It was quite incredible, this bond that we saw happening right between our very eyes. And I have to tell you that Attilia was not from the UK. She was from Malawi. And my mum was so interested in her life, her culture, and even why she was in the UK. And Attilia shared her story that she was in the UK to follow her nursing career, but like so many African mothers, to send money back home for the family. Mum was really interested about Attilia's village and what it was like to live in this little tiny country of Malawi. Typical of my mum, I guess, she said to Attilia, "Attilia, I'd love to help you, you know, what is it you need in your village, what's important to you?" And Attilia told her about the fact that there was no water. They were collecting water from the river, a river that was used for washing the clothes in, washing people in, the animals were drinking in it. You can imagine the state of the water. I was appalled. I remember going in to see Mum and she was really excited. And I said, "What's happened?" And she said, "I'm going to raise the money to help build a water well." And from a hospital bed, literally over one weekend, she raised enough money. She asked me before she passed away if I would actually come to the village and officially give the water well to the villagers with her thanks for Attilia being such an angel in her life. And I think it was while I was here that I began to realise there was more than just a need for water. First thing that was very evident was that the women were struggling to have the maize ground. Now, maize is their staple diet. The women in the village were having to walk maybe 10, 15 kilometres to the nearest maize mill, which is a chore when you think they've got young families. A bag of maize on your head in the heat that you have down here is not a very exciting prospect. And so we discussed around the campfire one night the possibility of building a maize mill as well. And I guess we're really blessed in many ways because a lot of our team, a lot of the people that we work with, many of them knew my mum. And we set about the task of raising the funds and also us giving the money to be able to start that project and indeed finish it. There was one time that I was here and we were sitting on the steps of Attilia's and Chris's house, and it was just going dusk. And the kids, whenever we come to the village, literally surround us. And I thought, I know what, I'll sing them nursery rhymes. And I sang the first line of a well-known nursery rhyme. And to my utter amazement, they sang it back to me. And as we began to sing together, I noticed a little tiny boy sitting a little bit further away from the main group, all on his own. He must have been about 2 years old. And I said to Attilia, "What's the matter with him? Why isn't he joining in?" And she said, "Oh, I think he's got malaria." And I said, "What can we do about that?" And she said, "Nothing. There's no medical centre here. There's no clinic. It's a long way to the main hospital, but we'll keep an eye on him." 2 days later, when I was due to go, John and I were packing up. John, my husband, was here with me as well. I asked after the small child, and Attilia looked at me in the eyes, and she just very quietly said, "He didn't make it." I said, "Sorry?" She said, "He didn't make it, Jane." And on the plane on the way home, I remember saying to John, "You know, we need to do something. We can't just stop with water and maize. We've got to do something else." And he said, "What are you proposing? What do you think?" And I said, "I think we need to build a medical clinic." The week that we came over to open the clinic was a grand affair here. I mean, it went on for days. It was a good time. It was a time of gratitude. It was a time of love. It was a time of everybody feeling part of something greater than themselves. Attilia really loved my mum and cared for her in many, many ways, such as bringing her a glass of water when she needed it. And looking after my mum when she was sick was just priceless for us. And as a result of that bond, those two women, in what was a pretty sad time, but those two women coming together and my mum picking up on Attilia's wish and then acting upon that, has not only changed one person's lives, but changed the whole face of the village here and many, many hundreds of lives. Compassion has always been really important to John and myself, and forever has allowed us to do that. I am so glad that we made the decision to build a forever business. It's been life-changing in so many ways, not just our lives, but the lives of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of others. My name's Jayne Leach. John and I believe in changing lives, even through the smallest of acts, and we are forever.